I would never have pushed myself without these classes and you guys, the practitioners, being straightforward with what needs to be done.
Yeah.
There's no like skimping. If you do one set a day, sure, you can do that, but it's going to take you a while. So this is the quickest, most efficient way. And the money has been, I mean, when you have chronic fatigue and you feel like something's working and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
You want to get well. I mean, most people, I'm sure, with chronic fatigue, you've already spent thousands of dollars on supplements or whatever throughout the years. So to have something where you, even though it's been a long process, I've been, I kept going because I felt immediate progress from the beginning. When I was able to stop sleeping downstairs and like handle nights after a couple weeks, that was okay. We're going to keep going.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Nice to see you again. We've just been sort of mulling over how to approach this. And your case is quite interesting because you're a young woman who had an incredibly low control pause. Now, just say something about how you got there and the things that would have contributed to it, and
Yeah,
what life was like before you started the practice.
mm, yep, I'm 36 now, but I crashed with chronic fatigue back in 2016. So I was 31 then.
Hmm.
And I was quite athletic. I was very involved. I was doing, I was telling Martha, in 2015, I did the Pacific Crest Trail. So I walked from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. And then in 2016, I did it again for my honeymoon. So we started at the Mexican border on the Continental Divide. And I was supposed to make it to Canada. And about halfway through, it was just my husband and I were like, you're done. My health had just, I pushed it. So, it seemed all of a sudden where I say crash with chronic fatigue, but then you learn more and you realize how it's been building up for years and you've been ignoring symptoms. So at that point, I say I mouth breathed the whole way from Mexico to Canada. And so I was not, I knew nothing about buteyko then. I learned about it in 2018. And all I did then was tape my mouth shut and become aware of nose breathing. And then, so that was 2018. So I've been mouth taping my mouth shut and paying attention to nose breathing for a couple years, I guess 3 years before I started the beginner's course this year, February 2021. And
Mm.
my control pause, even with mouth taping and all the things, was 6. So I was a disaster. Yep. And then in between there, I was pregnant, and then now I have a 3-year-old. So I was a disaster. Hmm.
So, what was the quality of life like with a control pause of 6? Just give a rough idea.
Quality of life, I mean, classic chronic fatigue. I was in bed when I had my social life is 0. When I had my son Wesley, I mean, it's like chronic fatigue is like, I mean, maybe a healthy person has 100 teaspoons of energy. I have about 2. And so I mean, that was dedicated to Wesley and my husband. So no social life, no going, no hikes. I haven't hiked or mountain biked for a couple years. Um, no physical exercise, not even when Wesley started walking, I did little walks with him around the block, but 0 hiking, 0 mountain biking, 0 snowboarding. You see my snowboards were a big part of my life. 0 snowboarding. So yeah, my social life pretty much collapsed because that's what we do around here where I live. So yeah, just dedicated to Wesley. And then waking up in the middle of the night was a disaster. Sorry, I'm getting teary eyed because it was miserable trying to raise a toddler um, with not being able to wake up.
Yeah. So, you said that you were having difficulty waking at night, that if you did wake at night, you wouldn't cope with the day.
No, at the time I took the class in February, my husband and I had created a bed for me downstairs because if my toddler woke me up, I mean, it was a disaster. I couldn't fall back asleep. I was panicking. Um, I couldn't attend to him, and that was my husband's job. We did everything we can just get back to sleep. I would take calcium, magnesium, just get me back to sleep because my husband still had to go to work. So we just protected my sleep as much as we could so I could care for Wesley. And we managed as long as I did not wake up in the middle of the night. I needed pretty much the same amount of sleep as him, 10, 12 hours. Um, yeah, so we were managing it, but by no means it was like if it went a little off and, like I got woken up, I mean, I was just a disaster.
So when you say you're a disaster, you mean you were completely wired and destroyed, your nervous system was destroyed?
Yeah, if I got woken up, I just, it's all like the cortisol or the fight or flight, I guess hormones would fly, and then I was up, like I was awake. So it would take me an hour or two to fall asleep, and then, take some calcium, magnesium. I, like I said, I was taping my mouth shut, but I didn't have the knowledge of the exercises that I learned in the course.
Mm.
Um, and so I eventually would fall asleep, but then, yeah, I had to make sure I was up to obviously take care of Wesley.
Mm. What kinds of symptoms were commonplace before you started
Um,
practice?
Before I started, well, back in 2016, when I originally crashed, I was having panic attacks daily, like severe 5 times a day. And those did go away with dietary changes and other things. But what lingered still was anxiety, depression, just kind of like the roller coaster, especially running with my hormones. Then after having a baby, it seemed to become more obvious that during certain parts of my cycle, depression would hit or anxiety. So it's just kind of a roller coaster of, yeah, depression and anxiety, fatigue, and then digestive pain, a lot of digestive pain, which I've gotten rid of. Like changing my diet with nutrition before I did the practice has helped huge. I mean, I don't have sensitivities anymore. I had really bad eczema on my hand, and that went away. And that was all before the practice. But once I started the course, it was like the icing on the cake with my emotions. It was like my nervous system. That was one of the first things that my husband and I noticed was a lot calmer. If I
Mm-hmm.
got woken up and this is probably a month or two in, I still slept downstairs for about a month or two. I don't remember the exact timeline. And then we were kind of like, okay, I think I can handle being back upstairs. Um, so if I got woken up, I can just do a set now and go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That happened last night. And I don't fear that I'm not going to be able to make it through the day or be able to care for Wesley. Um, Anxiety, if I do get anxiety or depression, it's not consistent. It's like an acute episode, and I can do a set and kind of think through it. So it's very acute as opposed to chronic and always. The depression, I did notice because I keep track of this, the depression right before I start my cycle, right before I start my period has gone away. So if it happens, it used to be like spot on 3 days before, and I kind of knew it was coming. Okay, feeling a little depression, it's coming on. But I've been recording this for a couple of years, and during maybe like a month or two into the class, that premenstrual depression has gone away. So that's one of the biggest things is my moods or the emotions have gotten more stable.
Mm. And what's your control pause now, roughly?
About 24. Mm-hmm.
So it's a big difference. So you've gone for breathing for like 11 people. Now you're breathing for 2.5.
Yes, it's been
Yeah.
a lot of work to get to 24, but it's been, yeah, I mean, once you go, you get glimpses of, I don't feel like I've crossed a barrier of, I always feel well, like I'm still struggling with fatigue, but it's so much better than it was. I mean, I get glimpses of how good I can feel that I keep going, but I'm still waiting for that turning point where it's consistent, but I'm still going through, yep, a lot of the cleansing. So it'll be a good day, a little bit rougher, good, but I mean, I have no fear that before I don't know how I'll make it through the day with a toddler, and I don't have that fear anymore. Like I'll be able to make it, sometimes I put them in the corner and say I'm doing a set. But yeah, I don't have that fear of I won't be able to make it through the day.
Mm. Would you like to talk a little bit about the cleansing? Because the cleansing's been quite dramatic, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I started the chronic fatigue, it wasn't a new concept of having cleanses or detox. I mean, I've kind of been in that world, researching chronic fatigue and natural health. So was very familiar with the concept of it, so it didn't freak me out too much. But I mean, it's intense. And one of the biggest ones that I've got are headaches, migraines, and then the migraines have been so bad, it'll be nausea and vomiting. And I've gotten those episodes a few times, and we're so used to them that it's like, okay, we know it's coming. But I mean, they're awful. There's episodes where I look almost like an acute drug addict coming off, like detoxing. And the vomiting can be so intense. And my husband and I, we just, and then we just have a bowl and we kind of know what to do. And it'll be like the last, I'll get up something my body wants to get rid of. Then it's like done. I can go to sleep, and it's horrible. And during it, I just say, I'm never going to do this again. I can't do this. I can't do this. Then once it's done, you forget about it and you just move on and do your next set. And so I've had very acute episodes. The migraines, I mean, I think every time I say I can't do this anymore, the migraines, headaches, nauseas, vomiting have been the worst. And then I also get like my mental game is sometimes I have to reread things 3 or 4 times, or there's days where I'm like, I tell my husband I can't even measure out the tablespoons. Like, you have to do it. I can't count, or just my mental, it's not sharp. And I'll have moments where I'm like, oh, my brain is sharp today. So I do look forward to the day that it's always sharp, but it goes in and out a little bit of forgetful, rereading, things like that. And it's gotten worse, I can tell you. So that might happen around 30. The last month or two, we've seen some like, oh, all right. It's just kind of, I'm forgetting, I can't read today, it's not even worth it. And then other symptoms, I said I had digestive pain, but the last probably a couple weeks, I really like the pain. I can feel sharp pains at my liver, my stomach, and right around kind of like my intercostal spaces, and right at the bottom of my rib cage. And I think that just started since the intermediate course. So I'm thinking that's diaphragm stuff stretching out, because that's kind of new. But the liver, I know that I have a liver that's been struggling throughout the years. And so I'm hoping that the pain is just bringing the disease to the surface and we're healing it. But I do get a lot of digestive pain, and the belly pumps, something, one of the things from the intermediate shop has helped
Yeah.
a lot.
The last time you had a migraine episode, it was easier to manage.
Yeah, I get different ones. There's ones where I just know at the beginning of the day I'll get really, really bad pain behind my eyes, and I know those won't go away until I vomit. Honestly, they'll just be in bed all day, and I'm like, okay, finally, my body is ready to get rid of it. And then I have other ones that, and those I can only shallow breathe during the day. I mean, I'll try to do a set, but there's nothing. I can only shallow breathe. And then there's other ones that, yeah, I've been able to manage with the set, in and out. Like, it didn't full blown go to headache. I did a set. I did my 3 max pauses to 60. It went away. 2 hours later, I felt it coming. So I did the same thing. So yeah, I've gotten better at managing the smaller headaches.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is it's the skill of actually catching it early enough and feeding the CO2 in to support the process. It's a skill.
Yeah, that's been helpful with certain, I've gained more tools throughout the class to, manage certain symptoms.
So you were going to talk about how surprised you are that you're actually benefiting from movement, that you haven't moved much for a long time.
Yes, with the chronic fatigue, I even with changing my diet and doing, taking supplements and doing a couple things, I still was not moving. I was not, like I said, I slept 16 hours a day when I was pregnant. When my baby didn't walk, I didn't walk. I just kind of laid around. And then when he started walking, but when I started the class in February, and then we started doing the steps, and my husband one day saw me running in place. I mean, he was shocked. He was like, "You're running." And so, yes, this opened a door for me to actually move. And then I just took the intermediate class, and I'm doing the 15-minute walks. And I have been walking with Wesley, but I would get tired afterwards. And so the things that we learned in the intermediate course have really helped. I feel good during those walks. Nothing like I was before, but it's like opening up, and I can do the exercises that we learned and kind of scatter them throughout the day if I'm not cleansing.
Yeah, and the other thing is to actually start to really move your joints,
Yeah,
mobilize.
they're creaky. Yeah, I mean, I told my husband I'm 31 going on 90. They're creaky, and it's a very, yeah, it was challenging. It's challenging being active and then falling with chronic fatigue and then feeling like your body is, yeah, like the Tin Man, just creaky.
And then you were going to talk about how difficult it is to get the control pause from 6 up to 20. It's a hard job.
Yes, I've been very, I mean, I remember at the beginning because I was sleeping down here and I remember, I mean, I needed my husband to hold me accountable. I was just like, you have to start timing me or I won't do it. And because they were just so difficult. I mean, I don't know what my maximum pause was, but with a control pause of 6, not very high. So I remember for the first couple weeks, I mean, he held me accountable at night. I was like, please start timing me. And then I just didn't want to do them. And it was just a job every time, every set. And then slowly I remember I was like, oh, I don't even need my husband to time me at night. I was just starting to do it on my own. I don't even now, I never ask him. I don't need his accountability at all. Um, and I just do them. And I've been very diligent. Like I've done the 4 sets a day plus whatever. So I have been very diligent about doing the practice. And when you have a toddler, he's not getting any less energy. So I'm very motivated to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And yep. And I was going to mention if there's other moms out there, how I managed him. Like I've trained him. He does something called room time. So I put him in his room with a timer for 45 minutes and he gets whatever special toys. Um, and then, I can do a set and I have blanket time. So I trained him to sit on a blanket with a timer, 20 minutes with a special toy. And so that's how I've managed getting sets throughout the day. Blanket time and room time. Mhm.
Mm, that's interesting.
Yep. So I have a little, like, I'm going to have setups, something so that I can get them in scattered throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you could have done this on your own, or do you think what do you think that what's the role of the practitioner in all of this? Because I
Then,
know myself, there's no way I would have got the results without the practitioner behind me. I couldn't have done it.
yeah. I say, sure, you can do it on your own. I taped my mouth shut for 3 years and still had a control pause of 6. So that's that's what it looked like doing it on my own. No, I looked up little YouTube videos and just Buteyko because I didn't know about it. And actually, when I think about it, I watched you, Martha, on YouTube back in 2018 when I was pregnant. And I watched an hour-long video and I, kicked myself for not having pursued that earlier. But yeah, no, I would not have had the knowledge of the exercises and the accountability. I called Martha a few times when I was just crying and crying and crying and saying I can't do this anymore. And so you walked me through a couple times that were, yeah, just you were available for me, those moments. And then still, I mean, I took the intermediate course and I do the follow-ups because they help me and I've learned through those. So I have looked around on YouTube and I do know another practitioner with someone who gave me advice. She learned not classical, but a different Buteyko. But her advice didn't get me very far. So it would, I mean, looking back at what she told me, I mean, it would have taken me years to get to control plus 24. So this is the quickest, most efficient way. And the money has been, I mean, when you have chronic fatigue and you feel like something's working and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
You want to get well. I mean, most people, I'm sure, with chronic fatigue, you've already spent thousands of dollars on supplements or whatever throughout the years. So to have something where even though it's been a long process, I've been, I kept going because I felt immediate progress from the beginning when I was able to stop sleeping downstairs and like handle nights after a couple weeks. That was okay. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, that's the
So
thing.
yeah,
You see the immediate benefit.
yeah. And it's, yeah, I would never have pushed myself without these classes and you guys, the practitioners, being straightforward with what needs to be done.
Yeah.
There's no like skimping. If you do 1 set a day, sure, you can do that, but it's going to take you a while. And
Well, that's the thing. 1 or 2 sets a day just keep you on a plateau. You've
Yeah.
got to do
Yes.
3 sets a day minimum to keep moving forward.
Yeah, wrapping your head around what needs to be done and how often. I mean, it's every day. There's days where I'm like, oh my gosh, the whole day is consumed by buteyko, consumed
Exactly.
by breathing exercises. It does feel like that, but I mean, my whole day was consumed by being in bed all day and chronic fatigue. So I mean, it's almost your necessary evil. I have to do it. That's it. I have to
That's
do
it.
it.
Yeah, I used to treat myself. You know, the deal was I couldn't move on into the next part of the day until done my set, and after my set, I get a cup of tea.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. Have to, and it does help having Wesley. I have little accountability because it's during his nap. I'm like, okay, I have a window. I have to do some sets.
Mm.
Before, if I wake up before him, okay, I have to do my sets. So it holds me accountable that, like, I have little windows, and I'm sure people who work, because I'm at home all day, you have to figure out your windows, and you can't procrastinate. Like, you have to do it.
Mm.
So that's how I've managed to hold myself accountable to do them.
Mm.
If I miss this window, I don't have another window for 3 hours. So
Yes, and then you suffer more.
yeah, or it's like mom, 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 and I'm just like, oh, okay. Can't do stop with mom, 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 mom.
So, how do you think it's affected Wesley doing the practice?
um, well, he observes me nose breathing. So sometimes I just see him do this just randomly. He doesn't know what he's doing yet, but he's just kind of doing that. And so right now we're not at a stage of I mean, I do know he's a mouth breather. And I've known about Buteyko for a couple of years. And I even know when he was little, like I would close his mouth shut and I swaddled him and he's still a deep breather. And so I kind of cringe a little bit like, oh, what do I do about it? And I guess your advice was just to take care of myself first, handle that, and then worry about Wesley. And what we did yesterday for the first time was I read him a story and he got, I put mouth tape on him. I said, we're going to practice nose breathing just during the story. So it was a short story. And I plan on doing that during the day with him for him to get used to nose breathing. So that's all I do now is I don't say, you need a nose breathe. He's 3. I just say, oh, mommy's practicing breathing out of her nose or daddy's practicing breathing out of his nose just to start with that. Um, yep. And then we're just going to practice mouth taping during the day. And I don't actually really know where to go from there with a 3-year-old. I saw another video of a woman who had a 3-year-old and she started to practice mouth taping at night. So I won't do that until he's comfortable with it during the day in
Mm.
naps. But I'm noticing it. He's deep breathing and I'm just, you can't, I don't, you have to take it baby steps, I guess, with a 3-year-old. But at least he's becoming aware.